The secret of the Huruf Muqatta'at. Surah 55 verses 1 to 4.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان.
Ar-Rahman. He has taught the Quran. He created mankind and has taught him speech. Indeed, Allah is the best of teachers. Teaching starts from numbers and letters. Ar-Rahman. Before being able to write this great name, we need letters, the Arabic alphabet. How could the All-Knower teach us the Quran without teaching us the letters that the Quran is composed with, from Alif to Ya? Before diving into the secret of the Huruf Muqatta'at, let's fact-check on how He has taught us the numbers in the Arabic language. Has anyone noticed that from the Quran, we can learn how to count from 1 to infinite? Yes. Whatever number not mentioned could be deducted from simple practice. Therein, number 1, Wahid. Repeated many times in the Quran, we will quote verse 163 of the Surah 2.
وَإِلَٰهُكُمْ إِلَٰهٌ وَاحِدٌ لَا إِلَٰهَ إِلَّا هُوَ الرَّحْمَنُ الرَّحِيمُ.
For the uniqueness of this number, it carries 3 of the attributes of Allah: Al-Wahid, Al-Ahad, Al-Awwal. Number 2, Ithnain. Repeated many times in the Quran, we will quote verse 51 of the Surah 16.
وقال الله لا تتخذوا إلهين اثنين إنما هو إله واحد فإياي فارهبون.
Starting from this number, not any further should be attributed to the One Glorious. Number 3, Thalatha. Repeated many times in the Quran, we will quote verse 41 of the Surah 3.
قال رب اجعل لي آية قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار.
Number 4, Arba'a. Repeated many times in the Quran, we will quote verse 10 of the Surah 41.
وجعل فيها رواسي من فوقها وبارك فيها وقدر فيها أقواتها في 4 أيام سواء للسائلين.
Number 5, Khamsa. Quote verse 22 of the Surah 18.
سيقولون 3 رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون 5 سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب ويقولون 7 وثامنهم كلبهم قل ربي أعلم بعدتهم ما يعلمهم إلا قليل فلا تمار فيهم إلا مراء ظاهرا ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا.
Number 6, Sitta. Quote verse 4 of the Surah 32.
الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وما بينهما في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش ما لكم من دونه من ولي ولا شفيع أفلا تتذكرون.
Number 7, Sab'a. Quote verse 27 of the Surah 31.
ولو أن ما في الأرض من شجرة أقلام والبحر يمده من بعده 7 أبحر ما نفدت كلمات الله إن الله عزيز حكيم.
Number 8, Thamaniya. Quote verse 6 of the Surah 39.
خلقكم من نفس واحدة ثم جعل منها زوجها وأنزل لكم من الأنعام 8 أزواج يخلقكم في بطون أمهاتكم خلقا من بعد خلق في ظلمات 3 ذلكم الله ربكم له الملك لا إله إلا هو فأنى تصرفون.
Number 9. Tis'atun. Quote verse 48 of the Surah 27.
وكان في المدينة 9 رهط يفسدون في الأرض ولا يصلحون.
Number 10. Ashara. Quote verse 89 of the Surah 5.
لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم ولكن يؤاخذكم بما عقدتم الأيمان فكفارته إطعام 10 مساكين من أوسط ما تطعمون أهليكم أو كسوتهم أو تحرير رقبة فمن لم يجد فصيام 3 أيام ذلك كفارة أيمانكم إذا حلفتم واحفظوا أيمانكم كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تشكرون.
Number 11. Ahad Ashar. Quote verse 4 of the Surah 12.
إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين.
Number 12. Itna Ashar. Quote verse 36 of the Surah 9.
إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم وقاتلوا المشركين كافة كما يقاتلونكم كافة واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين.
Number 13. Thalathata Ashara. From 13 to 18 could be deducted, not from the previous double digits number, but from the following. Number 19. Tis'ata Ashara. Quote verse 30 of the Surah 74. For any teaching lessons, essays and tests are needed that pushes the learners to deduct results from unveiled patterns. This skill has also been taught by the all-best teacher. Number 20. Ashrun. Quote verse 65 of the Surah 8.
يا أيها النبي حرض المؤمنين على القتال إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200 وإن يكن منكم 100 يغلبوا 1000 من الذين كفروا بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون.
Number 30. ثلاثون. Quote verse 15 of the Surah 46.
ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه إحسانا حملته أمه كرها ووضعته كرها وحمله وفصاله 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين.
Number 40. Arbaun. Quote verse 142 of the Surah 7.
وواعدنا موسى 30 ليلة وأتممناها ب10 فتم ميقات ربه 40 ليلة وقال موسى لأخيه هارون اخلفني في قومي وأصلح ولا تتبع سبيل المفسدين.
From this verse, we can notice the change that occurs in cases when the number is used acting as a subject or a quantification. 30 was used instead of the previous 30, and 40 is used qualifying the nights. Number 50, 50. Quote verse 14 of the Surah 29.
وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ فَلَبِثَ فِيهِمْ 1000 سَنَةٍ إِلَّا 50 عَامًا فَأَخَذَهُمُ الطُّوفَانُ وَهُمْ ظَالِمُونَ.
Number 60, 60. Quote verse 4 of the Surah 58.
فمن لم يجد فصيام شهرين متتابعين من قبل أن يتماسا فمن لم يستطع فإطعام 60 مسكينا ذلك لتؤمنوا بالله ورسوله وتلك حدود الله وللكافرين عذاب أليم.
Number 70, 70. Quote verse 32 of the Surah 69.
ثم في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه.
Quote verse 80 of the Surah 9.
استغفر لهم أو لا تستغفر لهم إن تستغفر لهم 70 مرة فلن يغفر الله لهم ذلك بأنهم كفروا بالله ورسوله والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين.
We can notice that both Sabrin and Sabaun were used in different verses, making clear to us the variability of the vocabulary of these numbers depending on the context in which they are used. Number 80, Thamanun, quote verse 4 of the Surah 24.
والذين يرمون المحصنات ثم لم يأتوا ب4 شهداء فاجلدوهم 80 جلدة ولا تقبلوا لهم شهادة أبدا وأولئك هم الفاسقون.
Number 90, Tisawun, and 99, Tisawattis'un. Quote verse 23 of the Surah 38.
إن هذا أخي له 99 نعجة ولي نعجة واحدة فقال أكفلنيها وعزني في الخطاب.
The mentioning of the 9 along with the 90 is indicating us how to count between the 10 multiple numbers until 99. Number 100, Miyat, quote, verse 261 of the Surah 2.
مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم.
Number 200, Mi'atan, quote, verse 65 of the Surah 8.
يا أيها النبي حرض المؤمنين على القتال إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون يغلبوا 200 وإن يكن منكم 100 يغلبوا 1000 من الذين كفروا بأنهم قوم لا يفقهون.
Number 300, 300, quote verse 25 of the Surah 18.
ولبثوا في كهفهم 300 سنين وازدادوا 9.
From here, we can deduct until 900 as after knowing 100, just 200 not follow the same pattern. Number 1000, Alf, quote, verse 5 of the Surah 32.
يدبر الأمر من السماء إلى الأرض ثم يعرج إليه في يوم كان مقداره 1000 سنة مما تعدون.
Number 2000, Alfain, Quote verse 66 of the Surah 8.
الآن خفف الله عنكم وعلم أن فيكم ضعفا فإن يكن منكم 100 صابرة يغلبوا 200 وإن يكن منكم 1000 يغلبوا 2000 بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين.
Number 3000. 3000. Quote verse 124 of the Surah 3.
إذ تقول للمؤمنين ألن يكفيكم أن يمدكم ربكم ب3,000 من الملائكة منزلين.
Number 5000. 5000. Quote verse 125 of the Surah 3.
بلى إن تصبروا وتتقوا ويأتوكم من فورهم هذا يمددكم ربكم ب5,000 من الملائكة مسومين.
Number 50,000. 50,000. Quote verse 4 of the Surah 70.
تعرج الملائكة والروح إليه في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة.
Number 100,000. 100,000. Quote verse 146 of the Surah 37.
فأرسلناه إلى 100,000 أو يزيدون.
From the teaching of 3,000, 5,000, 50,000 and 100,000, any number could be deducted when we combine the knowledge we were provided with from number 1 onwards. Amazing how this verse of the Quran, 37/147, containing the highest number mentioned 100,000, did not stop the counting, but rather continued with أو يزيدون. Worth noting regarding the teaching of the numbers is the mentioning in the glorious book of the ranks such as Al-Awwal first, Ithnay second, Thalith third, Rabi' fourth, Asadis sixth, Thamin eighth. The multiples digits such as Wahida, one time, Da'fa double, Thalath Marat three times, and the fractions such as Nusf half, Athulth 1/3, Ar-Rub'a 1/4,
Khums
1/5, As-Sudus 1/6, and As-Saman 1/8. From many verses we can understand how numbers are added to result in sum, subtracted, multiplied or divided. The verses of inheritance, namely 11, 12, and 176 of the Surah 4, defy all knowledge in mathematics in that era of revelations and even in modern days. All praise is due to our Creator, who did not leave us in darkness. Now the question that arises is, when the All-Knower has taught us the numbers, the Quran itself, shouldn't he start with the letters first hand? Of course he did, and precisely with the first letter, Alif.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
This is the beginning of the book. Pointing at it and introducing it, Surah Al-Fatiha is the opening chapter of the book, a sort of summary, praising, singling out the Lord Allah and invoking Him. Every single name and or an attribute of the Most Great contains the two letters Alif and Lam. 98 of them start with these same two letters. The two others still contain them. Then the letter Mim makes the most appearance, excluding the couple Alif and Lam in the names and attributes, 41 from their total. Without repeating any set of the Muqatta'at, 41 letters could be counted in the 14 sets, but 14 letters without repeating any. 29 chapters or surahs from the Quran carry the Muqatta'ats. The Arabic alphabet is composed with 29 letters. The matching numbers are not mere coincidence. There is surely a link between the Arabic alphabet, the Muqatta'at, and the names and attributes of Allah. Noon, by the pen and what they inscribe. Quran Surah 68, verse 1. This surah is one of the earliest revelations in Makkah, perhaps the first carrying a Huruf Muqatta'at, being the first close to the short surahs. What does the pen inscribe? Nun, a letter. From the beginning in teaching the numbers, we started with 1. Whatever words we want to write also start with a single letter, any of the 29 alphabets. How did Allah teach us the letters then? What existed before the Quran or even the universe? Of course, Allah with His great names and attributes. How did the Muqatta'ats lead us to Allah's names and attributes? By the alif and lam, not departing from each other, not standing in duo, and in all 13 times appearances at the beginning the alif preceding the lam, as if defining the value of a name. By the couple being followed by only either mim or ra, the first a Qamariya letter and the later a Shamsiya one, as in the names and attributes. Is the set alif, lam, mim, ra, giving these 4 mentioned letters chronological order of appearances in the names and attributes, when we know the alif makes the most number of appearances followed by lam, then mim and ra, at last with 30 appearances. By referring us to Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, the 3 coming right after Allah in a list of 100. Would this stand for a wonder and enough for teaching when we find all 29 Arabic alphabets in the names and attributes of Allah? Maybe for some, but others won't be much stunned. The Nurani Qaida that teaches Arabic to beginners goes way beyond the alphabets. It instructs how each letter behaves when 1. Stands alone,
Qaf,
isolated form. 2. Starts a word,
Ta, Ha,
initial. 3. Middle of a word,
Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad,
medial. 4. Ends a word,
Ta, Sin, Mim,
final. 5. Or used as elongation.
Ha, Mim, Ain, Sin, Qaf.
Of course, we are being confusing here, because we could not use the same letter from the Muqatta'at to illustrate the case. And that is exactly why for 1400 plus years, not any of the researchers got to decipher their secret. It takes the right concept to understand that the teaching was done through the names and attributes. The Muqatta'at were just to lead us to this finding. If the Huruf Muqatta'at are coming in single, duo, trio, quadruple and quintuple letters, this also is indicating us the 5 functions a letter could have, with the 5th of elongation exclusively for the letters alif, ya and wa. And when we set eyes on the table of the Fawati, as some call them, we can notice that from the 14 letters appearing therein, each has just one true function that is hidden. Any other else could be deducted. Time now to dive into the table of the 100 names and attributes to find out if really all the 29 letters composing the Arabic alphabet are present in the list, and also if all functions of each letter were taught or subject to deduction. 1.
Alif, Alif, Lam, Mim,
2.
Allah,
3.
Al-Ahad,
4.
Alif,
Deduction. 5.
Al-Wasi'.
For the first function of alif, which is the isolated form, we used the Muqatta'at set,
Alif, Lam, Mim,
as all the list of names and attributes contains the harf, alif. For the second function, when it initiates a word, we used Allah. For the third function, when it is medial, we used al-ahad. For the fourth function, when it is in the final position of a word, could be deduced as being invariable. For the fifth function, when it is used for elongation, we used
Al-Wasi',
1. Ba.
Al-Wahhab,
2.
Al-Qabid,
3.
Al-Kabir,
4.
Al-Hasib.
The letter Ba doesn't have the function of elongation, and all 4 remainings are present in the names and attributes. Eye-catching is how the first and second functions are brought to exist. Since all names and attributes start with alif and lam except 2, in the first function, the alif elongation has to act, so that to separate the ha, to leave the bare ba at the end, standing for the isolated form, and in the second function, the same alif acts to cut the word in the middle, so that the ba could present as if starting a word. Now, I guess the waws start dropping, but hold tight to the end. We are into the science of the Quran. 1.
Ta.
Deduction. 2. Deduction. 3.
Al-Muqtadir.
4.
Al-Mumit.
Here, the third and fourth functions are to provide us with clues as to which family the letter belongs to, and also to introduce it in the names and attributes. For this letter belongs to the family of 3.
Ba. Ta. Tha.
Since Ba was previously taught, deduction of the first and second functions is easy for a good learner. After all, which qualified instructor pours results without any comprehension tests? 1.
Tha. Al-Warith.
2. Deduction. 3. Kathir. Deduction. 4.
Al-Ba'is.
Here, the first and fourth functions are to provide us with clues as to which family the letter belongs to, and also to introduce it in the names and attributes. For this letter belongs to the family of 3. Since Ba and Ta were previously taught, deduction of the second and third functions is easy for a learner. We should make note here how the letter Sa was made bare by preceding it with Ra, a letter which does not allow to be linked. 1.
Jim.
Deduction. 2.
Al-Wajid.
3.
Al-Majid.
4. Deduction. The second and third functions are to provide us with clues as to which family the letter belongs to, and also to introduce it in the names and attributes. For this letter belongs to the family of 3.
Jim. Ha. Kha.
Deduction of the first and fourth functions of this letter is subject to upcoming results. 1.
Ha. Al-Fattah.
2.
Al-Wahid.
3.
Al-Muhsi.
4. Deduction. The first function here is present to introduce the letter in the isolated form. The second and third, giving more clues on how this family of 3 letters, contextual form, are written. The previous letter,
Jim.
first function could be deducted, but still the fourth function of the family is yet to be unlocked. 1.
Kha.
Deduction. 2.
Al-Mu'akhir.
3.
Al-Khabir.
4. Deduction. The data for this letter is the same as the first letter, Jim, of the family. Just more knowledge is shed on how the Hamza on a wall acted to cut the word in the middle so that the
Kha.
present as if starting a word. Still, the fourth function of this family remains to be unlocked. But how, when the total of the 3 letters are already studied? Just hold on tight. 1.
Dal. Al-Wadud.
2.
Al-Qadir.
3.
Al-Adl.
4.
Al-Shahid.
All the 4 functions of this letter have been unveiled. The letter Dal does not allow to be linked, and that was taught in the second and third functions, where the Ra and Lam could not connect to the Dal. 1.
Zal. Dhul Jalal wal-Ikram.
2.
Dhul Jalal wal-Ikram.
3.
Al-Mudhil.
4. Deduction. For this letter belongs to the family of 2.
Dal. Zal.
The name
Dhul Jalal wal-Ikram.
is one of the 2 from the list that doesn't start with Alif and Lam, and the only one after
Al-Mudhil.
to carry this letter.
Zal.
Deduction of the fourth function of this letter is easy using that of
Dal.
1,
Ra. An-Nur.
2,
Al-Bari.
3,
Ar-Rahman.
4.
Al-Barr.
All the 4 functions of this letter have been unveiled. The letter Ra does not allow to be linked, and that was taught in the second and third functions, where the Hamza on Ya and the Ha could not connect to the Ra. 1,
Za. Ar-Razaq.
2,
Ar-Razaq.
3,
Al-Aziz.
4.
Al-Mu'iz.
All 4 functions of this family of 2
Ra. Za.
were taught, no further details needed. 1,
Sin. Al-Quddus.
2,
Al-Basit.
3,
Al-Hasib.
4.
Yasin.
Muqatta'at. The first 3 functions of this letter have been revealed, but at the 4th function we have a major revelation. 1.
Shin.
Deduction. 2,
Ar-Rashid.
3,
Al-Shahid.
4. Deduction. For this letter belongs to the family of 2.
Sin. Shin.
The first function could be deducted from that of Sin, and the 4th is sending us to deduct. Not any of the letters of this family revealed their fourth function. Whenever we have such a case, and know that one letter of the family is present in the Muqatta'at, we check its position there, and rule if it can fit to complete the teaching. And yes, we get the fourth function of the letter
Sin.
in the Muqatta'at set,
Yasin.
proving one more time the link between the teaching of the Arabic alphabet and the Huruf Muqatta'at. 1.
Sad. Sad.
Muqatta'at. 2. Deduction. 3. Al-Basir. 4.
Alif. Lam. Mim. Sad.
Muqatta'at. For this letter only the third function was revealed, introducing the letter
Sad.
in the names and attributes. And we find yet again a stronger argument, that the Huruf Muqatta'at are used for the teaching of some functions of the alphabet, which could not be found in the names and attributes. The first function of this letter,
Sad.
or the isolated form, and the fourth function could only be found in the Muqatta'at
Sad.
and the set.
Alif. Lam. Mim. Sad.
Deduction of the second function comes only after filling in the Muqatta'at and using the same number function of the letter Sin. 1.
Dod.
Deduction. 2. Deduction. 3.
Ad-Dar.
4.
Al-Khafid.
For this letter belongs to the family of 2.
Sad. Dod.
The functions 1 and 2 could be deducted from those of the letter.
Sad.
Here in the attribute,
Ad-Dar.
we encounter the only time the
Hamza al-Mad wajib.
is used for our education. 1.
Ta.
Deduction. 2.
Al-Batin.
3.
Al-Latif.
4.
Al-Muqassita.
The three unveiled functions of this letter can easily lead us to deduct the isolated form, which is the first function. The letter is invariable whether it starts a word in the medial or at the final. 1.
Dwa.
Deduction. 2. Deduction. 3.
Al-Azim.
4.
Al-Hafiza.
For this letter belongs to the family of 2.
Ta. Dwa.
The two first functions could easily be deducted using those of the letter
Ta. Dwa.
1.
Ain.
Deduction. 2.
Al-Ba'ith.
3.
Al-Mu'aid.
4.
Al-Jami'a.
For this letter,
Ain.
the first function is to be put on hold for other data to provide more clues. 1.
Ghain.
Deduction. 2. Deduction. 3. Al-Mughni. 4. Deduction. This family of two letters
Ain. Ghain.
did not unveil the first function. Unlike the family,
Ta. Dwa.
we can clearly notice a variation of the letters in the three last functions. However, when we examining the second and fourth functions, we can figure out that they are following the writing style of the
Jim. Ha. Kha.
family. Therefore, the isolated form of
Ain. Ghain.
could be deducted from that of.
Ha.
Consequently, the fourth function of the family
Jim. Ha. Kha.
that we left for deduction can be filled with that of.
Ain.
This essay just solved could indeed make a difference between excellent and normal learners. 1.
Fa. Al-Ra'uf.
2.
Al-Rafi'a.
3.
Al-Ghafur.
4.
Al-Latif.
All four functions of this letter have been unveiled. The teaching continues smoothly. 1.
Qaf. Al-Razaq.
2.
Al-Raqib.
3.
Al-Muqit.
4.
Al-Khaliq.
Same for this letter Qaf, which is one of the three single letters Fawatih. 1.
Kaf.
Deduction. 2.
Al-Wakil.
3.
Al-Shakur.
4.
Al-Malik.
By unveiling the last three functions of this letter, with the second and third being invariable, the isolated form could be deducted from the fourth function, being the same as will be the case of the next letter. 1.
Lam. Al-Muta'al.
2.
Malikul Mulk.
3.
Al-Alim.
4.
Al-Jalil.
The totality of four functions of this letter are revealed. We were given a clearance to deduct the first function of the previous letter. 1.
Mim. As-Salam.
2.
Al-Mu'min.
3.
As-Sami'.
4.
Al-Karim.
Making the most appearances in the names and attributes after Alif and Lam, no wonder all the four functions of this letter
Mim.
were brought to light. 1. Nun. Nun. Muqatta'at. 2.
Al-Mani'a.
3.
Al-Muntaqim.
4.
المهيمن.
Even when we can deduct the first function of this letter, noon, we can still use the Muqatta'at provided for an easy way through. 1.
واو. الأول
2.
ذو الجلال والإكرام.
3.
الوكيل.
4.
العفو.
5.
الودود.
This letter, being one of the three used for elongation or carrying the hamza, has the fifth function being taught here. 1.
ها.
Deduction. 2.
الظاهر.
3.
المهيمن.
4.
الله.
This letter has two isolated forms, one deducted from the second function and the other from the fourth function. Either way, one chooses to use it comes under that which has been taught here. 1.
همزة.
Deduction. 2.
الآخر.
3.
المؤخر.
4.
البارئ.
The first function of this controversial letter is easy to deduct, as it is carried by either alif, wa, or ya. The isolated form of hamza is used in medial and final positions as an unlinked letter. 1.
يا.
Deduction. 2.
ياسين.
Muqatta'at. 3.
القيوم.
4.
القوي.
5.
البديع.
The last letter in the alphabet and the group of three used as elongation or carrying the hamza. This letter ya is one that came in the Muqatta'at. Set yasin to unlock the second function. The deduction of its first function can be done from the attribute al-qawi we used in the fourth function. If not because the preceding letter wa is unlinkable, the ya itself could be joined as in the attribute al-muhi. By witnessing that not any single letter of the Arabic alphabet is missing from the list of Allah's names and attributes, and by confirming that all functions of the letters have been revealed directly or through deduction, we can stand firm and think to have deciphered the secret of the Huruf Muqatta'at. Besides, from the great names and attributes of Allah, many other tools needed to teach the Arabic language are found therein, from short vowels, long vowels, ligature, shada, etc. In conclusion, the Huruf Muqatta'at are letters of the Arabic alphabet in the way they are read in the recitation of the Quran, with no known meanings, standing for the purpose of presenting, teaching the alphabets, and leading to the names and attributes of Allah, where the complete teaching was wisely carried out. This confirmed yet again the divine origin of the Quran and the verse 89 of the Surah 16.
وَيَوْمَ نَبْعَثُ فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ شَهِيدًا عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين.
And the day when we will resurrect among every nation a witness over them from themselves, and we will bring you as a witness over these. And we have sent down to you the book as explanation of all things, and as guidance and mercy, and good tidings for the Muslims. The Quran has indeed made clear and mentioned many things that our intelligence is not yet catching or comprehending. This is yet another call to any denier of the Quran, to gather back to the only unchanged revelation we have left for guidance from our Creator, to save our troubled world. If not the one who created, the one with infinite knowledge, who else could embed this manner of teaching through names and attributes that make the most of sense, names and attributes that define the one God worthy of worship. No wonder He the Almighty quoted in His glorious book, Surah 26, verses 192 to 195, and indeed, it is the revelation of the Lord of the worlds which the trustworthy Spirit has brought down into your heart, so that you may be of the warners, in a clear Arabic language. No doubt, the Creator has prepared this Arabic language to receive the last revelation to mankind. All praises belong to Allah.